Welcome, everybody, to NFL Draft Geek's Prospect Review Show. I am Brian Johannes here in the Draft Brian Studios, and we've got an exciting episode for you. If you're new to this, you're not familiar with what we do, it's kind of like a highlight show for the 2019 draft eligible prospects. What I like to do is kind of hit up how these top prospects did in their week 3 matchups, and I'll just kind of go game by game, kind of highlighting these top prospects. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get started. Arguably the best matchup this week was this Alabama versus Ole Miss prospect wise. There was, Ole Miss has got a lot of good offensive prospects. Alabama has a lot of good defensive prospects. So it was going to be a fun matchup. Unfortunately, Alabama continued to show that they're one of the best teams in college football, winning 62-7. But that doesn't mean that these prospects didn't do bad. The first player I kind of want to talk about is DK Metcalf. He's Ole Miss's receiver, 6'4" receiver. He, much like the first week game, he made an impact right away. He had a 75-yard touchdown pass, beating this guy off the ball and going downfield. He ended up having just only one more catch to add on to that, so he only had 92 yards total. But he definitely shows he's got big play potential. I just kind of want to see him do more. He's just his 2 big plays this year, he just beats the guy off the ball and just goes downfield for a touchdown. And that's great. It's touchdowns. But, if he's going to be a top flight player, if he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in this class, he's got to show more route running ability. But definitely a big play for him. Teammate A.J. Brown only had 4 catches for 34 yards. He's kind of that slot over the middle type receiver. And DeMarcus Lodge, their speed receiver, had 1 catch for 7 yards. Tight end Dawson Knox was left with a big fat 0. No catches, no yards, obviously. Those 3 receivers were the only 3 that got any catches. Alabama's defense was able to just kind of shut them down. And not the output that this Ole Miss Rebels team wanted. Another position I kind of watched there was going to be their offensive line versus Alabama's defensive line. Greg Little, the left tackle, is one of the top line prospects in this draft. And he kind of had his hands full with Christian Miller and Anthony Jennings for Alabama. Miller ended up with 2.5 sacks. Anthony Jennings ended up with a half sack. So it's not like they were dominating, but definitely not the type of performance that Little and this interior line wanted. All right, the next game to look at is that Ohio State versus TCU. That was probably the marquee primetime game, just because we knew Alabama was probably going to roll big over Ole Miss. Ohio State ended up winning 40-28, kind of turned it on late. The 2 prospects to really kind of keep an eye on this game were Nick Bosa, Ohio State's defensive end. He ended up leaving early in the first half. He hurt his groin. It doesn't appear to be serious, but he did leave and only played about half the game. But he made the most of his time in there. He had 5 tackles, but most importantly, a strip sack along the goal line that ended up giving Draymond Jones, his teammate, a touchdown. Bosa just continues to show that he's one of the best players in this class, that, any team looking for a pass rusher, an edge guy, is going to be a big fan and really going to go after and make Bosa a high draft pick. Speaking of Draymond Jones, he had quite the game himself. 6 tackles. He had his own sack, where he kind of slanted to the outside and then used a quick lateral move back inside to get that sack. He finished 2 tackles for losses. He had that fumble recovery for a touchdown after Bosa's strip sack. And then he also had an interception return for a touchdown. TCU was trying to run a shovel pass. He read it, jumped in front of the running back, caught it, and then ran in for the touchdown. So Draymond Jones showed his playmaking ability. For me, he's a guy, if you're looking for an interior pass rusher, he's going to be the top guys to kind of look for. I don't know if he's a first-round pick, if he declares, but he's definitely got the ability to rush the passer from the inside, and that's definitely something to kind of keep an eye on as he continues to progress through the season. All right, moving on. This was the top game at the 11 o'clock, the early game. And that was Oklahoma versus Iowa State. It was a great matchup of was going to be a great matchup of running backs. Iowa State's got David Montgomery. Oklahoma had Rodney Anderson, but Rodney Anderson got hurt last week, done for the year. So that's a big loss for Oklahoma. But this game ended up going Oklahoma's way. They won 37-27. Montgomery is my number one rated running back in this class. He's kind of had a slow start to the year. Teams have really been focusing on shutting him down. He did finish with 21 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. Hey, but even though his stats weren't there, he showed a lot of the traits that you look for out of these running backs. He shows good lateral quickness, contact balance. This guy is tough to tackle because you have to grab him, wrap him up, and drive him to the ground. He can spin out of tackles. He can bounce off them. Such a tremendous player, and he's just not being able to show it fully so far this year. For Oklahoma, I mentioned Rodney Anderson didn't play, but Marquise Brown continues to show that he's one of the best receiver prospects in this class. He's currently our number one rated receiver in this class. I don't know if he'll stay there. N'Keal Harry, who we'll talk about in a little bit, is definitely making his case. But Marquise Hollywood Brown finished with 9 catches for 191 yards. He had a 75-yard touchdown. Just continuing to show that he's an elite playmaker down the field. He's got that elite speed. He tracks the ball well, but he's so much more than that, and that's what makes him special. He's able to run routes. He can break down and accelerate in and out of breaks, create that separation. He's much more than just a speed, deep threat. All right, probably the best game, not only hype-wise, but results-wise, and that was that 2:30 game, LSU at Auburn. LSU ended up kicking a field goal at the end of the game to win 22-21. A lot of top prospects here. Jarrett Stidham is our number 2 rated quarterback. He finished 16 for 28, 57% completion percentage. He had a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He showed a lot of what he is. He showed that ability to make accurate passes. He showed the ability to with touch and anticipation. But then he also made some bad decisions. He tried to force some balls, evident with the 2 interceptions. He had intercept Greedy Williams, the cornerback, our number 1 rated cornerback. He had an interception of Jarrett Stidham where, Greedy Williams, if you watch the clip that I'm showing you, showed the ability to, stay on top, stay in phase, turn and run with the receiver, and then get his head around, and he saw that the pass was underthrown and come off of it for an easy interception. So, not a good look for Stidham. But once again, Greedy Williams is one of the top receivers in this class, our top receiver at this point, kind of showing why so many, prospects or so many analysts and potential NFL teams will like him. It wasn't a great game for Nick Brossette, LSU's running back. He was a guy that kind of came out of nowhere, sitting behind Darius Guy, sitting behind Leonard Fournette. Finally got his chance. He'd kind of blown up so far this year. He struggled in this game, 19 carries for 69 yards. Auburn's got a good defense. Derek Brown had 9 tackles and a half tackle for a loss. Dontavius Russell's there. So they made it tough for Brossette to get going. And it was the quarterback, Burrow, that really kind of got LSU over the hump there. A couple other guys. Devin White is the number 1 linebacker in the class for us. He had quite the game. 8 tackles, tackle for loss. He showed his burst. He showed his power. Here's a guy that I love. He needs to get a little bit better in traffic, get a little bit better taking on blocks. There's a couple, LSU gave up a touchdown on the ground to Auburn, and he got sealed off by the guard a little bit. But if he can work through that, there's no reason why this guy can't be elite. I think in the current NFL where it's so spread out and open, you put him on the weak side, I think he's going to have a lot of success. You look at what former LSU linebacker Deion Jones is doing with the Falcons. I think Devin White could be that, but even better. All right, moving over to the West Coast, we have Stanford was taking on UC Davis. Stanford ended up winning 30-10. I kind of want to highlight this game for a couple guys. No Bryce Love in this game. He left their previous game the week before early. They're just holding them out. They got Oregon next week. They just said, hey, we can beat UC Davis without Bryce Love. Let's give them some rest. Let them come back from that undisclosed injury. KJ Costello is their junior quarterback. He's getting a little bit of hype, and I've seen a lot of other analysts really like him. The little that I've seen, I just haven't been too impressed with. I haven't dove into him too much just because he is an underclassman, and I just, at this point, don't anticipate him coming out. He finished with 17 for 30, 56% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One was the defensive end making a spectacular play, but he didn't have a good game. UC Davis, he should have had a better game. So I think we need to cool a little bit on his hype and, maybe take a step back from that. His receiver, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, continues to prove that he is one of the elite contested catchers in college football. He only had 3 catches for 36 yards. 2 of them were touchdowns. He continues to just make highlight reel catch after highlight reel catch in the end zone. Defenders draped on him, grabbing him, pulling him. He's still able to make those catches. I can't wait to watch more tape on him. And, he's got to be able to show that he can create separation. But you know what? DeAndre Hopkins can't, doesn't always consistently separate. And he's got an elite catching radius, can win those contested catches. So keep an eye on JJ Arcega-Whiteside. There might not be a better, he's having an epic year this year. If he can keep that up through Pac-12 play, it's going to be hard to not see him go early in the NFL draft. Maybe not first round, but at least that day too. Speaking of who Stanford plays next week, Oregon, they took on San Jose State. They won 35-22. The player to watch here is Justin Herbert, Oregon's quarterback. Hearing all this praise about him being the number 1 quarterback to be taken in this draft, and he's got a lot of physical tools. But he went 16 for 34 in this game. That's 47% completion percentage. Hey, he did have 309 yards. He did have 3 touchdowns. He also threw 2 interceptions. Hey, I cannot wait to break down his tape. I cannot wait to do it. But, gosh, if we're killing Josh Allen for his poor completion percentage, Herbert hasn't been doing it this year so far. 3 games. He's played Bowling Green. He's played San Jose State. He played Portland State. Portland State, he completed his passes pretty well. But against, San Jose State's not very good. Bowling Green's not that great. And he threw for right around 50%. Okay? It's something to kind of keep an eye on. Yeah, he's making some pretty throws, but what about those other throws? What about the non-highlight throws? Staying on that West Coast, we have Arizona State took on San Diego State. The fun thing to watch in this game was how N'Keal Harry did against San Diego State. When Stanford played San Diego State, JJ Arcega-Whiteside went off. N'Keal Harry had 9 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. He's kind of kept in check. Manny Wilkins kind of went to the other receivers, and Harry's catch was a jump ball towards the end of the game to kind of make it a 1 touchdown game. The thing I liked about him is he made a tremendous contested catch, and then he's like all business. He's like, okay, I'm not celebrating. We're still losing. It's towards the end of the 4th quarter. Let's just get off the field and hopefully get another shot at it. So he's a guy that, once again, I think is going to be the number 1 wide receiver in this class when it's all said and done. Marquise Brown is a stud. There's a few other guys that are good. But N'Keal Harry, week in and week out, is showing off his skill set. He can win contested catches. He can burn you deep with his speed. He can catch the ball and make you miss and reel off a big gain. He can create separation. So there's not a lot that Harry can't do on the football field. All right, last game that I'm going to look at is Missouri versus Purdue. Missouri ended up winning late in the game, 40-37. The prospect to kind of keep an eye on here, once again, a quarterback, Drew Lock. He went 26 for 43, completed 60% of his passes. He did throw 375 yards and 3 touchdowns and an interception. He's continuing to put up huge yards, but his completion percentage, left something to be desired. He's got that strong arm. He's another one of those guys. You see Justin Herbert, you see Drew Lock are the top guys in this quarterback class. I'm hitting the pause on that. Yes, Lock's statistics are good, but the big question I had for him coming into this year is his accuracy. And this is kind of showing it again. He's not an overly accurate thrower. A lot like, as I mentioned before, Josh Allen. Okay, so he's got to prove that. I can't wait for SEC competition to come. Purdue is 0-3. Right, and he kind of he put up 375 yards, but he also only completed 60% of his passes against a lesser opponent earlier this year. Locked, completed over 70% of them. Hey, how is he going to go against those SEC teams? Last year, the early part of their schedule was the tough SEC schedule, and they struggled. And in the second half, they played all easier teams in the SEC, and that's when they had all their success. How is he going to do against the likes of Georgia? How is he going to do against a athletic Florida secondary? Okay, that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, we're going to do this each week of the college football season, see how these prospects are doing. I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure you're hitting up NFLDraftGeek.com for all your draft needs. We got daily content, NFL reverse power rankings. Look at an updated projections of the NFL draft order. We have, I always put these up there. We got our stock watch. Logan Fredrickson puts those out. I give you a college football scouting guide. I always like to put out a scouting notes of a player this past week in their game. I did Jeffrey Simmons the week before. I did Shea Patterson the week before that. Probably I'll hit up one of these players this week. Rankings are updated on a daily basis as we continue to watch more prospects. Podcasts are out there. I do release this as a podcast, so if you're watching the video and you're like, hey, this is pretty good, I do other podcasts. If you're listening to this on the podcast, check out the video version. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter at @draft_Brian, at NFL Draft Geek. Instagram also at @draft_Brian. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time.